Okay, it's 3:30 something Sunday afternoon. Shabbat after Yom Kippur. Give or take a day and a quarter before Sukkot. And finally putting on tefillin. Had a very restless night last night. I wasn't especially tired when I got home. Was it like 11 o'clock or maybe even earlier? I don't know, 9 o'clock? I don't remember. I did laundry last night. It was about the only exciting thing I did. So exciting. Went to the laundromat and did laundry. These tefillin are my second pair. My first pair went missing for a decade and a half. And my mom gave me some money, so I bought these. But I haven't worn them in a few months. And from what I can tell, somebody else has been wearing them. They're kind of sticky, which I'm guessing from sweat. And the head tefillin seems very tight. But maybe I'm just not remembering them correctly. Just gonna say Shema and maybe some till and take them off. I think I fell asleep a little after 5 and I woke up a little after 9 and basically coffee, cigarettes, poker, bathroom. Then I went to Mea Shearim looking for lunch, but it wasn't schnitzel there, they had hot dogs. Well, first I was excited because when I walked in I saw a lot of plates with corned beef. Then I saw some plates with turkey deli, which was less exciting. And then when I got to the counter, it was chicken or turkey dogs, and I was like, ugh, they look like human flesh. There's an episode of Lex where they encounter some cannibals and they're making like human flesh hot dogs, and it's like, oh. Whenever I see chicken or turkey dogs, that's what I think of. I must have seen that episode as like a kid, because, well, pretty much anytime I see chicken and turkey dogs, that's what I think of. Human flesh. Not to say that I haven't eaten them in my life, but they are kind of nasty in my eyes. So then I walked back to Ben Yehuda and I got myself some schnitzels and some fries and an orange drink. And then I went to the cigarette store. No. After Mea Shearim, I went to the Old City and I picked up some money. Storing some money there. Picked up rent money, which I really don't want to pay because I feel like I'm getting a shit deal, but Jerusalem is expensive, Israel is expensive, so there really isn't much choice. Plus I don't have citizenship and a bank account with which to lay out checks and get my own place. And if I was able to save up, for like first and last. Which doesn't seem like I will be able to. Then I went to Ben Yehuda and got my schnitzels, or maybe I got the schnitzels and fries and drink first, and then I went to the Old City. I grabbed a coffee at the Ramban. I saw Chaim, and I got a painkiller off him. I checked the contents, and it said paracetamol, caffeine, and codeine. So I chopped the pill in half. Basically equals 250 grams of paracetamol, 25 grams of caffeine, and I don't know how much codeine. But obviously not that much because I'm not flying and my headache isn't completely gone, but it's mostly gone. I was actually getting a headache in the middle of the night because I kept turning and tossing and turning, and my head on one pillow wasn't exactly comfortable. My head on two pillows definitely wasn't comfortable. I know if I had a good woman in bed with me, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. Assuming, you got the AC going, so it's not overheating, but just comfort of a woman lying next to me in bed. Assuming she ain't all elbows. Giving up on Lauren. She sent me a message at like 10:45 last night responding to something from Friday, I think, or Thursday night. And I was like, forget it. It's like, she doesn't respond to any of the personal emails. She obviously doesn't care. It's like, yeah, if I quit smoking for 6 months, maybe she'd kiss me. I was like, girl, I'm fucking in love with you. Like, you can't see past that? I can see past your fucking hairy legs. I can see past the fact that you're like 40, 50 pounds over what I want. And taller than me on top of it. But I love your personality. I love your vibe. Nope. So I told her I never want to see, hear, or receive anything from her again. Like seeing physically, hearing physically. Email or SMS is like receiving. it really sucks, because, you know, she's a beautiful person. Not necessarily beautiful physically, but she's a beautiful person. Well, maybe not. Maybe there's a lot about her that I don't really realize, and it's just, first impressions, or maybe I suck at first impressions. Anyways, time for Shema, and I guess the 6 remembrances, the Animamins and Tehillim, and I don't know what's going to be after that. I didn't even shower today. I haven't showered since Friday afternoon. Really feeling it. It's like, what the fuck's the point? No citizenship, no career, basically a beggar or odd jobs, and rejected by every single woman. And it's not necessarily the smoking. Smoking is like, one thing they pick on once in a while, but they seem to reject me like outright. It's like when they're in the mood, they'll go out, but getting them in the mood is like, what the fuck? I was telling Chaim, it's like there seems to be 2 options when it comes to women. It's like straight to a wedding or straight to jail. Like they don't seem to have a different speed. I don't know if it's like that with non-Jewish women, but like with Jewish women, I think it's like that with non-Jewish women too. It's like either you're dead set and you love them and you want to marry them and take care of them, blah blah blah, or you're just some sex craved, nutcase. Which is really weird because the Bible says procreate, and there's like a Rashi somewhere that says that God counts how many times Jews have sex, that He's proud of us. Whether we're intending to have kids or whether we're just acting, doing that thing. I forget where the Rashi is, but it's like Jewish women and non-Jewish women, they don't seem to have any connection to that, except for when they feel like being whores, just sleeping around. But that's not what it means. It means in the sanctity of either a couple or marriage. I mean, don't get me wrong. One night stands, it's definitely rabbinically forbidden. Biblically, The Rambam talks about it. Once upon a time, a guy would meet a girl in the market. If he agreed and she agreed, go back to a motel and just have sex. And then when they were done being a couple, they'd end it, whatever. It wasn't like a one-night stand, but still, technically it could be. In the Muslim world, they have such a thing as temporary marriages, which is basically prostitution. You marry somebody for 24 hours, you marry somebody for a week. Judaism doesn't have that. You can't marry for a week. Technically, can you do one-night stands? Rabbinically, not so much. Biblically, yes. It's not the ideal way, because then we're all a bunch of whores, guys and girls. Best way is, commit a relationship, preferably marriage. But even if not marriage, boyfriend and girlfriend, your boyfriend and girlfriend for 6 months, and you're not intending to have kids, but you're not working against it. You don't have kids, so you break up, for whatever reason. You go your own ways. It's a 3-way machlokas in the Gemara. Or Akiva and Beisil and Beishamai, I think. I hope I'm explaining things right, because in my head it's like like a chant. Technically, I think my first girlfriend and I were married, on a biblical level. And I never gave her a divorce, whether rabbinic or otherwise. The closest thing she got to a divorce from me, Kosev la Sefer Krisis is what the pasuk says, was her mother asked me if I wanted to marry her, and I was like, no. So I guess technically that can be considered a Sefer Krisis, but it's like, no. Because if they would have outlined a plan for us to get married and live together, I would have stayed with her till now. I never would have been interested in my second girlfriend. I never would have been interested in my third girlfriend, which was not even Jewish. I never would have been interested in Lauren. I mean, maybe as friends, unless my girlfriend slash wife, whatever, was into a threesome. Nothing would have happened. You know, I'm not, never wanted to cheat on her. No. And even though we're cheating, it's like, according to biblical, and even rabbinical, till you get to Rabbeinu Gershom, guys allowed to have more than one girlfriend, a lot of guys allowed to have more than one wife. Oh my God, he's a sexist. Ah. Sorry, I grew up in the yeshiva system, you know, that's what we call Judaism. I'm not right. Take it up with my rabbis. What do you want from me? You got a problem with it? Fund my education in another system. Send me off to a reform school. Send me off to university. Pay for it and pay for my housing. And in the meantime, get me a girlfriend because I fucking have, you know, and give me a stipend. Like, what the hell is this? You know, either I'm Jewish and what I grew up with is right, or it's possibly right, or it's completely wrong. So if it's right, then somebody's got to help me find a wife. If it's possibly right, so then, you know, you can't blame me for anything. And if it's wrong, then you've got to fund my way to a better education. And, you know, provide proofs. Because as far as I can tell, Orthodox Judaism is right. There's some things that are not so clear. Definitely. You know, you go back to that whole wearing pig issue. It's not so clear. I mean, definitely Rashi and Ramban saying that only by the Kohanim is it a problem to become not pure, and that we're all in a status of impurity today. But you don't have permission to go out and become impure. But if you're already in a status of impure, like if you fall into a pit, and you fall into a pile of shit, I mean, like you fall into a pool of shit, like, you know, you get these sewer workers, they go down into the sewers and they get covered in shit. Do you think they're going to have a problem changing a diaper at that time? They're not going to want to get the baby dirty, but they're not going to have a problem, you know, touching shit. I don't get it. I mean, Kalach might be right, you know. The verse says explicitly not to touch the corpses of pigs. And yet, rabbinically, that's only a problem for Kohanim because they need to stay as much pure as possible, just in case the temple comes around. But even they can't work in the temple until the red heifer comes around and they get the blood of the red heifer. So we're all screwed. All of rabbinic Judaism, when it comes to purity and impurity, is irrelevant. So then you'd be able to have sex with any woman, anytime, even if she's a nida, because you're already at the highest level of impurity, status of impurity of having touched dead bodies, which is the highest level of impurity. Even having sex, even touching a nida is less impure than that. I mean, rabbinic Judaism is confusing the fuck out of me. But there doesn't seem to be any other option, because even Christianity seems like rabbinic Judaism on some levels, and they're more into segregation. And then what do you got? Islam? And Reform doesn't have a book. They're just whatever's progressive at the time, apparently. And conservatism is seemingly somewhere between Orthodoxy and Reform. And then you got the ultra-Orthodox, the Hasidim and the Haredim, which are like, you know, it's the 1700s. Except that unless you dress like them, and unless you speak Yiddish, and I don't know what else, you're kind of screwed and don't have any. I think they're even progressive too, you know. To a certain extent, I kind of agree with the Alter Rebbe about we should all live in ghettos. Things are so much simpler. Is it necessarily right? No. Heard plenty of stories growing up that even when they had the ghetto, there were Jews that ran away to, you know, the Christians, and it's like, convert me. Like, this religion's not working for me. And so they were excommunicated from the Jews, but they ran away, so they obviously didn't care. And then I got a buddy living in Berlin. He's like, all religion's fucked up. I mean, like you have in the second Batman movie, the Dark Knight, where he says, the Joker says, the only way to live in this world that makes any sense is without rules. Chaos. But chaos doesn't work either unless you're a psychopath. You need to have rules, but which rules work? Już myślałem, że zamignasz, ale są mało to chyba. Ona mi ona koczałki na barwę, bo co ma pomysł taką miesiąc, no już sam coś po sobie, mi za mało za. Hej, David. Som rör nu så mycket så ska jag gå på det här. Det kommer det är ju det som jag kan göra. According to the Talmud, you could give somebody what's worth the smallest amount, let's say $1, and tell them to go find you a wife. Makadesh al yidei shliach. You could even say about a specific woman, except that good luck getting that specific woman to necessarily agree. And then if he brings you back a wife that you don't accept, do you have to marry her? Then if you say hurry up mekudeshesli bitabazu and you give a woman a ring and it's in front of two ostensibly kosher witnesses, she has a problem that she might actually be considered a married woman right then and there, and that she would require an actual divorce if things don't work out. You have such a problem with, supposedly, you have such a problem with like teenage kids. Everybody's warned against saying that. It's interesting, you should remember the day you left Egypt, all the days of your life. A lot of people are in a bad marriage. They'd be saying to me, be thankful you're out of that, because marriage is like Egypt, you work yourself to the bone. Even not a horrible marriage could be like just work. Any relationship is work. I'd just rather be in a somewhat loving marriage. That no matter what happens in my day, I get to come home to, that woman. Even if it's just to see a relatively good looking woman. Preferably, to be able to share the bed with, to hold at night and have sex with, instead of jerking off. And jerking off it's easier. It basically feels almost the same, but it's not the same. It's not. It's not. Although how would I know? It's been 5 years since I had sex. It's been longer than that since I kissed a girl, as far as I remember. Woman, not a girl. Although I am technically small, so my walking around today, I saw a lot of girls that, quite frankly, were my size. Like 5'4", and 100, 110 pounds. Oh my God, they're all like 14, 15, 16. So I didn't say anything to that because, God forbid somebody thinks of me as a pedophile looking at a woman who's like the right size for me, who looks like she's got the right shape. She has breasts bigger than my first girlfriend. She has hips. My first girlfriend had hips. And she comes from an Orthodox home or an ultra-Orthodox home, to maybe they would want to marry her off. Except that I can't take her. I don't have a career. I don't even have citizenship in Israel. Half the time I wonder, am I Jewish, am I not? Oh, it's a secular state, I shouldn't worry about that. I should only worry about Orthodox Judaism. It doesn't quite work that way. I want to be able to open up my bank account. No, I should work for cash to pay a landlord rent and buy groceries with cash and everything else I need with cash. I'm not religious. I stopped keeping Shabbos like 8 years ago. I wasn't really keeping it since like 2002, 2003. Mostly just the smoking and turning on the air conditioning, but there have been a few weeks where I was really depressed and couldn't sleep, so turned on my phone. Oddly enough, this Shabbat, I did not turn on my phone. I did turn on the air conditioning at night, not during the day. For some reason during the day I was able to sleep. Maybe that's why I couldn't sleep last night, because I slept during the day. Whole 2, 3, 4 hours, I don't remember. So there's just a whole life there. So I'm sure go with I'm exhausted. This is already my 3rd cup of coffee today. Which is not saying much because I usually have like 3 or 4 or 5 cups of coffee in a day. My pinky nail, I'm still growing it. It's like 2 weeks now, I haven't cut it. Or did it. All my other nails have been biting. See? But pinky nail, letting it grow for some reason. No idea. Literally no idea why. And wearing my favorite watch. Knockoff IWC Pilot chronograph, Petite Prince. Yeah. Where would you land? Hey, look, it's Sergio. Yeah, I also jerked off today. I've been thinking about it for a while. And sometime around noon, I did. Yeah. Why? So you're gonna tell him I jerk off. I don't know. Because I figured God doesn't care to find me a wife or a girlfriend. Might as well. Of course, talk to the psychologist that's healthy. Let you know if life ever starts to make sense. Maybe. YouTube might be extinct by then. It's gonna be some cold soon. And there's gonna be a lot of girls around. And I have absolutely zero idea how to get myself a girlfriend, let alone a wife. I am no longer 20 years old, or 18 or 19, to just try different things to get a girlfriend. Getting set up doesn't seem to work either. There you go, see, Denny. I think the only thing that's going to work for me having sex ever again is probably getting a prostitute. I probably don't want a prostitute because who knows what diseases she's carrying. It's the 13th of Tishrei. 5 more days and I'll see her say my mother's father passed away. 1995? 1996? Late 1995. It's 30 years. 30 years. My mom's parents have been gone. Rivka Farbiash, Nee Fishbane, and Shaya Farbiash. Originally from Poland. Lodz, Stopnitz. Got married in Bergen-Belsen. Moved to Winnipeg. Moved to Toronto. Had 2 daughters. Technically had more than 2 daughters. But the only other one that I know of that lived, she only lived 4 months. But I heard there were a bunch of them that she lost, during the pregnancies. So, if you go to the grave, the cemetery behind Pride of Israel in Toronto, you look for Shaya and Rivka Farbiash, and I forget what the girl's name was, but there's a marker there. There's a grave for a 4-month-old. Yeah, I think it was 1952. Yeah. Feel free to put in a prayer for me that I become closer to the kind of man they would want in their second youngest grandson, who's never been married and still doesn't have a career, can barely hold down a job, and suffers from debilitating depression and anger. And there's this stupid fly that keeps coming to me. Alternatively, if you go to Ottawa, you can find my dad's parents. They've been gone for about 3 years now. Label and Leona Silver. Her maiden name was Viner. So, Jean D'Origine, mon âge de because my was doing some arts called tele. Yeah. Little shout out to Yisrael Ben Munich, who helped out with 500 shekel this month and the past 3 months. My rent has not been easy for me to fundraise for. Even working, when I was working last month, doing some typing in Hebrew, typing up parts of the Chavetz at 60 shekel an hour, even though it brought in over 3,000 shekels, it's still, for the course of the month, there are a lot of expenses. Like last month, they paid $2,700 in rent, and then Koch was asking for like another 200 and change for utilities, and I'm looking at him like, and so I thought I'm going to try and get him $3,000, but how am I going to come up with that for November? It's like I'm not working, no work's coming my way. No, everybody's got faith, just like my two dads. Yeah, just like I'll find a wife. Yeah, please, send me a gun and a bullet so I can, end my life. Although preferably cyanide pills or a fentanyl pill. 2,000 micrograms or milligrams or whatever it is that'll do the job, because quite frankly, this doesn't make any sense. How is it possible that in the year 2025, going on 2026, or 57, 86, that it's this hard in Israel to make 10,000 shekel in a month, or to get citizenship, to get a bank account, to get a wife, to find friends that don't just, shove you around and wishy-washy, oh yeah, it'll happen. Give me a fucking break. Was I born yesterday? 5,000 shekel a month, 10 years ago, wouldn't do anything. Today, it's barely scraping by for a room. If not for the fact that I've been eating here at the Kiddishes for the last, 4 months or so, free, and there's usually a fairly decent chunk of beef in each person's serving, and usually there's enough for more than one serving, sometimes as much as 4. Although, quite frankly, the servings are pretty small, but still, 4 small servings equals 1 regular-sized, decent-sized serving. Been eating for free, coming by here and using the electricity and whatnot for free. So, I really shouldn't complain, but, I bought this 300 shekel platter of sushi, and I got 3 pieces out of it. I mean, if I were really tried, I could have gotten 4 pieces out of it. But I imagine that's how a lot of people feel when they, pay for a kiddush. It's like, I got nothing out of it. Even at my own bar mitzvah, actually, I don't remember if there was a shul kiddush from my bar mitzvah. There must have been, but I don't remember. But other kiddushes that I've gone to at the Bayit, where it's like the kiddush must cost, I don't know how many thousands of dollars, and you're lucky if you get a piece of cake. And that's a kiddush without joint. And in a small shul where there might be cholent, so you still have to pay for the employees, you still have to pay for the setup, you still have to pay for the cleanup, and then there's the raw materials. It's like, no wonder there's no wife, no wonder there's no girlfriend. I don't work hard enough to make money for the wrong reasons, let alone for the right reasons. It's like, I just want to be a couch potato, lie around all day, lounge around all day, watching TV, having sex. I mean, don't get me wrong, as I get older, I want to get more serious and I want to focus on what's more important, These books behind me, they do teach moral lessons, and I would like to live a more moral life. But the more I look around the world, it's like, is anybody else working towards living a moral life? And those who are, is their life worth living? Doesn't really seem that way. I don't know anybody who's got a life actually worth living. It's like everybody seems to have like a shitty life on one way or another. It's frustrating. I don't know anybody who's got the good life. I don't even know what the good life is. Oh. Okay, film done. I was going to do mincha. It's 4 o'clock already. I guess I can do mincha. Then go have a smoke. Maybe shower. I don't know. Shower now and then shower before Chag. Thankfully in Israel, Chag's only one day. I mean, technically it's still 7 days, but the day of the holiday where there's the cooking, the cleaning, the driving, the shopping, it's only one day. Although the intermediate days, I'm sure there are people who are very religious about it, but as far as I can tell, it's like business as usual. You get, ultra-Orthodox kids setting up shop with popcorn and fresh squeezed orange juice and cotton candy all over the place to make a few bucks. And it's like, they don't need to make money. I can understand a father. I can understand somebody in my position. But these kids? The only benefit I ever saw was a couple of years ago when they set up shop like right next to me, and it's like, okay, so if they ever need change, I can give them all my change and get bills. But that was like the only benefit. Other than that, it's just a racket. Although technically having, people going there and then when they have change from whatever they bought, so they might give me the change. It's not as good as, let's say, like 4 or 5 years ago, where in the intermediate days of Sukkot and Pesach, where there was like tens of thousands of people, and like I must have cleared like 500 check a day in the intermediate days. Okay, so this year there's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Theoretically, in those 4 days, I might be able to bring in like 1,200 check, maybe. But with my smoking habit and getting to lunch or breakfast, and getting myself out of bed, because it's so hard to be motivated considering I can't seem to accomplish any of my goals except for possibly paying rent. Okay, thanks for watching. If it was at all entertaining or enjoyable or educational or whatever, feel free to send a donation. PayPal or Zelle to Schnelsh, SHNELSH @gmail.com, or e-transfer to benjsilver@gmail.com. Stay tuned for the next episode of watching me whine and bitch about my life.